Here's a small segment from the Pre-Patch Podcast. Enjoy.
So you are playing this game called Claritas, right?
Yeah, Claritas, it's a dungeon crawler RPG. We were contacted by the developer and offered closed beta access to it. So thank you very much to them for giving us this kind of little tech demo of what the game is going to be. And what it is a party building style RPG. As of right now, there's about 20 different characters in the game that you can choose from. They all have different abilities, different
Holy shit.
like
That's a lot of characters for
It's
real.
actually more
yeah,
than I thought it was
every
going to
character.
be. Yeah.
Yep, 20 characters at launch, and they're planning on having more over the lifespan of the game. Each character has four abilities that are unique to them. There's no overlap in abilities. Yes, there is going to be some overlap in what they do, like single target damage, AoE damage, fire, that kind of thing. But the characters all fill like different niches, and there's actually some like pop culture references within the characters that I found kind of interesting. Like there's an Ice Queen character that is just totally Elsa.
Frozen. Yeah.
There's
Nice.
a Thunder Lord, which is Thor. There is a Musketeer, which is a Three Musketeer. So
There's a
so,
werewolf, which is Sin.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Go fuck yourself.
but
Just want to say.
so 20 characters right off the rip, which is pretty cool. I've played around with about half of the roster. They all do feel pretty decent, pretty unique. I also really like how the character models look, both in the like sprite form and in the battle menu form. I think they did a really decent job in the artwork on that side of things.
Is this so? This is not out yet, right? This is we just
No,
got
no, no.
access to
Yeah.
our review access, correct?
Yep, this is review access. They gave us closed beta access. As far as I know, I went to their webpage. The game has been at least had a Steam page up since the let's see, it was back in August is when the Steam page went up. So it's only been live on Steam for about 2 months. There is a demo that you can play of this as well if you are interested. It only gives you access to about 6 of the characters.
Okay.
But the closed beta access, we had access to all the characters that are out as of right now.
I'm telling you right now, dude,
nice.
I mean, for one, I love like Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2,
Same.
all of the old school Final Fantasy like tactics. Well, this isn't tactics, but like Final Fantasy 3, 4, all of that shit, 6. This looks dope as hell, man. Like I immediately, especially when I saw all those lists of characters, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Now I will say, I don't know. The background here, I'm like, dude, this looks like a window, like a window.
I was gonna ask.
screensaver.
I was gonna ask.
So it is a turn-based RPG. I know, Sin, you're a big fan of turn-based RPGs. Tony,
Yes.
you as well. Scruffy, do you play
Hell yes.
turn-based very much?
I dabble, but I never anything this. I don't know how to describe this. I'm more of the realism kind of turn-based type deals, like the RPGs you play, like Baldur's Gate and stuff.
I got you. Yeah, this
Yeah,
definitely harkens back to like the old school like PS2 era Final Fantasies and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Like that, like the old school sprite art style. There's a level of nostalgia to it that I really enjoy. So as of right now in the closed beta, there's only been 2 maps available. There is the beach and there is the forest. And the kind of loop that this game is giving you is you can swap out characters as you want, like before you go into the dungeon. So, as of right now, with having the full list of characters, I can pull them in and out as my needs go. So, if I'm going into the forest, for instance, I'm going to want to bring more fire based characters or stuff that's going to be able to handle like plants and slimes and stuff like that, because there are weaknesses with each of these different enemies. As you can see, I'm fighting water sprites right now, so my Thunder Lord is going to do big DPS to them. So there is a level of strategy to that, where picking the right characters for the right dungeons is going to make things a lot easier, and they do level up independently of each other. So like my vampire, if I take him out of the party, he's going to not gain experience, but whenever I bring him back in, he's going to be at the same level that he was at whenever I pulled him out. So
Okay.
So I got
Um,
a question.
yeah.
That area right before you got into the battle, I
Yeah.
saw that all of the screen was black. Are you trying to open up that area like by walking over it, and then it like kind of like a Pokemon battle? It
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
starts
thinking.
up.
that is exactly how it works. I'm not sure the level of depth that they're going to have with the dungeon system, but as of right
Okay.
now, the two maps don't have any specialized terrain to them, so there's no like pathways. They're just blocks where you're going through, and basically it's covered in fog of war, and you're clearing out fog of war, and there are random events that will pop up. So you're either going to find the
Got you.
boss, you're going to find treasure chests, or you're going to find random event areas. And if you find random event
Nice.
areas, it can be something like you stumble across a soldier's camp, and you can either, and it gives you like a few different options where you can like haggle for gear with them, or you can join them in sparring and your whole party gets a little bit of experience. So kind of depending on what you need. There's one that I did earlier where it was a spirit spring, and you can choose to drink from it or not, and if you drink from it, it gives you a random effect. So
So it also
Okay.
looked like as you're clearing it, it's kind of random. I don't know if it is, but it looked like it was
it
random as
is.
to where the boss fight was, and so like you might
Yeah.
look up. So like on there it said, are you ready to fight the boss? So if you didn't want to fight the boss, could you have just said no and then kept like going through and leveling and then come back to fight him, or is it
Yep,
just
sure
kind of like
can.
okay, cool.
Yeah, you can clear out the entire map if you want before you come to find the boss. Once you find the boss, you just know where he's at, and then you can walk back to him and select him at any time to fight him.
It would almost be so I have a feeling that they're probably like this that we're in and like like the testing and beta phase is probably just like maybe testing out the combat, testing out certain things, and then maybe they
Mhm.
will populate that area with like different terrain or whatever else. But even if they didn't, I think it would be kind of cool to almost RNG that, right? To say like, hey, like you're going into a fully fog of war map and you're just kind of clearing it and you don't know where the boss is at, and maybe you have a chance to level the shit out of everything and you're able to fight him and do well, or maybe the RNG luck isn't in your favor and you're kind of having to go in with an underleveled party. I know how that would probably turn the game a little bit to a different style of like almost like a roguelike, but I don't know.
That's what I was getting
It's so funny that you mentioned that. It kind of has that vibe to it because the way the dungeons are loaded out, if whenever you beat the boss of a dungeon, you get a gemstone, and these gemstones can be used to either unlock legendary gear, or they can be used to unlock account-wide buffs. So,
That's
like
cool.
for this one, it unlocks an aquamarine if you beat the boss of this dungeon. You get 3 aquamarines, and you can turn it into a piece, into a legendary staff, or you can turn it into
It's
a
kinda cool.
party-wide buff where you get increased fire damage for any character that you have equipped. So, if you bring a fire team and you have that buff unlocked, they're automatically going to be doing more damage just based on having that buff unlocked.
I'm
That's a
telling
permanent stat boost, like a permanent buff.
It's a permanent buff. Yes. Once you unlock it, it is account wide for any of your characters that bring in that benefit from that stat. So it does kind of have that vibe of go in, do the run, and
Yeah.
benefit from whatever you get. And you can
Yeah.
get gear pieces, you can get potions, you can get gold and stuff from the chests. The random events can give you different gear pieces, and that will affect all of your stats and stuff depending on how you want to build out your characters. So
That's
it's
really
got
cool.
a bit of a roguelike element to it.
I'm telling you, I really feel, and maybe I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I know that there are games that are out there and like turn-based is still a thing and whatever else, but like I really feel like this is such a missed opportunity right now. Like I feel like everyone's trying to go so like super pretty, super like, I mean, again, Final Fantasy VII Remake, like obviously I understand their choices there, but like there is something about this that just like immediate, I mean, again, for me, and it's a nostalgic factor, but it hits, man. And I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
I would dump so much time into something like this because I think it would be cool. And it's funny that Enigma in chat actually says, I bet it would be good with PvP, like mocking me. But I'm gonna tell you right now,
I was
like,
thinking the same
okay,
thing.
hold on. Let me cook. Hear me out, right?
Okay.
So think about it this way: almost like not necessarily a BR, but we have not seen a turn,
wow.
like, at least that I know of, a turn-based tactic style BR game. So you could
But
literally
didn't we
Where?
Didn't you actually like play a demo, or Enigma played a demo
Okay,
of one?
well,
where it
if
was
if you're talking about that one,
multiple-
no,
Yeah, it was
I'm
super
talking about
weird.
I'm talking about like this, where like, okay, imagine this, right? The entire map's blacked out, and you're loading in with, you don't have to go, you don't have to say anything kind of crazy, right? Like let's just say like, 20 people, 30 people, or whatever else. And
Mhm.
then you go in and it's all, and the entire map's blacked out, but you're like going through and searching through, and you don't know when you're going to run into somebody, and you just happen to run into it, and it's an actual person, and now you're battling it out, and then you're going forward. I'm just saying it could work. Like it could be a thing.
Yeah. I honestly, it could be a thing. And with this game and the level of customizability, the only thing that's not really customizable is the skills that your character has. But as you are seeing right now on the screen, if you're watching it live, you can actually go through and you get skill points that you can distribute amongst your skills to boost them up. So I can set my fire blast to a level 3, or I can spread out the skill points that I have to buff a couple different spells. And as you level up these characters, they unlock more skill points to increase those skills even further. On top of that, there's gear. The gear, there's 4 slots for gear. It's not like a weapon slot, a helmet slot. It's any 4 things. They're more like relic slots in a traditional Final Fantasy game. So
Yeah,
you can customize them out pretty easily there.
And I
Um,
wanted to go back to what you were saying about it is nice and refreshing to see a game like this come out, like where it does kind of go back and it's not super flashy and next gen and all that. And we know these games can work too, because we've seen it with like Vampire Survivors. These solo devs just come out with these, just kind of one-off games, and then boom, all of a sudden they're the next big thing. And
Yeah.
it's a good formula, and just like as like a passion project too, which I imagine this is very much one.
Yeah.
It's I see nothing wrong with it.
I kind
Yeah.
of feel like a lot of game developers are getting away from turn-based combat because they're trying to, like you said, follow a formula. At the end of the day, like I always enjoyed turn-based combat. When RPGs turned over to like that free form, I don't mind it for certain games, and I think we started going down that path with Kingdom Hearts.
Right.
When Kingdom Hearts first dropped, it was open, comparable to its what they were trying to base it off with Final Fantasy and everything. I feel like they didn't want to turn based anymore, and they saw how well Kingdom Hearts did, so that's when they started just pushing out these open, like the Tales Up series, like just
Yeah.
open art like combat. I'm digging this. I'm probably going to at least try this out because I loved Octopath Traveler 2,
God, such a
and
good game.
it was so good.
Yeah.
So this is something that might be up my alley. I know for some people they're looking at it and they're like, this is different for me. It's not my style of game. But give it a shot, especially when it's if you enjoy turn based, I say give certain games that are turn based a shot, just off the premise of it being turn based. You never know if you might like
And
it or
what
not.
this right here, like again, if you're watching live, by the way, we're live on YouTube and Twitch. But if you're watching the VOD, like this is so it brings me back to so many old school style games, right? Like you have the dungeon crawler, right? Like you have like the choose your own adventure with like almost like that oh
A
man,
story,
like story based kind of
storybook
thing.
kind of. Yeah, that's cool.
Oregon Trail esque, being like what happens
Mhm.
here, what goes there, like text based RPGs. It's just it like, and even I mean, this background I will say is a little bit better than the beach background. The beach background, like I don't mind this one as much, but like even that, like I don't necessarily think like, okay, cool, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like I love the look of it. I love the way that the combat system is. Like I'm loving this. Like again, just everything screams nostalgia. And from what it looks like, and I'm Bill, you're the only one that has played it. I mean, but I'm assuming it feels good to play. Like the combat system, and all of that feels really, really strong.
Yeah, it's fun to mix and match, and I think that's what this game is really going for. Since as of right now, I don't know if there's plans to be a story aspect to it, or if it is just like a loot grind and like XP grind, like a power fantasy style game.
And Sin's out, so.
But it's definitely good to play. It feels really good to mix and match things. There's some OP combos of characters, like you can do a full AOE buff team if you want. You can do like hyper single target DPS. You can double down on elemental damage if you want. A lot of variation that you can do with it. And
That's
there's a bounty system in the game once you clear out your first dungeon where it'll give you like XP or gold bounties for going back into dungeons and clearing out so many of a type of enemy. So there's a lot of incentive for the replayability, which I think this game is going to thrive on.
Nice.
The only thing I'm really wanting to see from it is more characters, and I'm really interested to see what they end up doing with the final games version of the maps. Because for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the big open square that's covered in fog of war that you need to clear out. I'd like to see some variation and some terrain in the map. I do like the random events. I do like the random loot chests. I think all that's good. I just like to see some more maze-like aspects added to it to increase the exploration.
It definitely leaves something to be desired there. There's a lot of open space that could be very well used.
Oh, for sure.
If done
for
correctly,
sure.
yeah.
Especially if these dungeons end up going across multiple screens. Like you get to the edge of a screen and it goes into another one, like having different segments to these levels, which I don't think is that far off.
Do you get a cool little jingle like you do in Pokemon?
You do.
When you get I knew it.
Absolutely, you do.
do.
Absolutely, you do.
Nice.
But yeah,
nice.
that's Claritas. It is in early demo access right now. It is expected to be released January of 2025. It is going to be available on PC, Mac, and mobile. Yeah, and Linux. Linux, okay.
That's what Nick was saying.
Yeah, no,
Windows,
that-
Mac,
that's-
Linux,
that's-
and Android.
That's awesome. So
that
it's
is awesome.
pretty well going to be on everywhere but consoles. If you're interested in it, like I said, there is a demo. You can play up to you can play 6 of the characters that they have unlocked now. Full release is going to have 20 plus. So
Dude, I could see people sinking a lot of time on their phone with this too. Like this being a good
For
mobile
sure.
game.
Yeah,
I
for
foresee that
sure.
being a big deal. So awesome. Well, there you go. That is like Bill said, that is Claritas.
And thank you to the studio Play Claritas for the beta access. Much appreciated.
And one thing I will say before everybody in the comments is like, oh, you're paid to say all this or whatever. They asked for us to give honest feedback, and that is what we are giving. They knew that we were not going to hold back. So appreciate the key, and this was our honest, true, unadulterated feedback for the game. So
never ask me for honesty, Ubisoft. I'm telling you, please.
Well, it's funny that you.
Thanks again for checking out the Patch Notes, part of the Pre-Patch Podcast, which we do live every Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Or you can check us out on anchor.fm/Pre-Patch Podcast or any place that podcasts are listened to. Thanks again. Much love.